Like, they haven't developed, or they don't have the next. And Steph, Butler, and Draymond are almost done. I'm not talking about the next Steph Curry.
Nobody's going to be Steph, but we're sitting here with Moody, Kuminga, and they have not been developed. I'm going to put onus on the Warriors front office for not getting it right.
I got to tell you something.
You're great.
I got to tell you something. I am inspired by one Sam Lubman.
And you haven't shared this with me.
You know, I got to tell you something. I realized listening to Sam, I've changed a little bit, I guess. And as it relates to the Warriors, I'm listening to Spadoni talk about action.
Spadone.
And I'm listening to Sam Lubman doing a great Howard Cosell impression of telling it like it is.
Hey,
and I thought, you know what? I think Lubman's right. We got trouble brewing here, Goo.
In regard to?
We're 4 days in to free agency. The Warriors are the only team that hasn't done anything.
Well, you know what? And I love Sam and those locks, but the bottom line is you sound spoiled. What about Jimmy Butler? We got
doesn't count.
See, and that's you're just like the internet now. We got our toy. We got our toy. Now are we going to keep our young Thundercat? That's what this is about. Why do I feel like he's got the leverage?
Who?
Kuminga.
Bobby Marks differs.
He's got no leverage. I mean, the only leverage he has right now is to sign the qualifying offer at $7.9 million and then try and go out in free agency next offseason here. When you look at the landscape of the league right now, I mean, it took Milwaukee waiving Damian Lillard and paying him $25 million over the next 5 years just to create cap space. Of course, there's the sign and trade mechanism here, but that requires cooperation from Golden State as far as what salaries they would want to take back in a deal here. So I think that's, I think if he's going to be on a long-term contract, it's going to be basically on the terms of the Warriors as far as what that number could be. And what happens with Kuminga dictates what your flexibility is also with what you have, whether it's your tax mid-level exception or maybe you have your full exception here.
All right, and we'll give the point to Bobby. But real quick, Steiny, this is how I look at all of this with the Guru computer. We need Jonathan more than he needs us. That's the rat on the table. We need him and what he is and what he can be more than he needs us.
That sounds great, but the Warriors did fine without him last year when Jimmy Butler got here.
I'll give you that.
So here was one thing I was thinking about as it relates to the Warriors, and of course I asked, have you watched the Celtics documentary?
I have not.
Evan, have you? No, he hasn't either. Okay.
I told you, I don't watch propaganda.
Wow. And that bothers you.
So a big theme of the Celtics, now they've had a long history, is when they've had a great player or great players, it's the responsibility of the great players to groom someone to be the next great player.
I don't know why I went to incorporate.
Oh, fine.
Okay.
So now the Celtics, it doesn't mean there aren't gaps here and there, but the Celtics went from Russell to Havlicek to Cowens, then Bird, to a lesser extent, Reggie Lewis. Lenny Bias was supposed to be. Reggie Lewis could have been. Anyway, I just started to think about the Warriors. And it hit me that, and someone might be like, welcome to the party, Steiny. Like, they haven't developed, or they don't have the next. And Steph and Butler and Draymond are almost done. And wow, there's no next. And what I'm getting at is, okay, well, who could have been the next?
Boy.
And listen, I'm not talking about the next Steph Curry. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the next iteration of the Warriors and who's going to lead them.
And we botched it.
You had Jordan Poole could have been that guy, or one, and it doesn't have to be one guy. It just doesn't.
Right.
They had a shot with Kuminga. They had a shot with Poole.
Moody.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. Moody's not a star. Like when I go back and look at all these players, young players the Warriors have had over the years, I think it has absolutely been a fact that outside of Jordan Poole, they have not either had a player emerge or allowed a player to emerge. And that's an organizational thing. It's a Draymond and Steph thing. But the only players, the only young players who've ever thrived here in Golden State have been role players. They've been role players.
You're describing Kevon Looney.
And the one guy that they had that was better than a role player was Jordan Poole.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's gone.
Yeah.
And the hope was that Kuminga might be the guy.
We're 4 years in.
And the thing is, here's what I really think. If Joe Lacob or Steve Kerr Dunleavy just heard what I had to say, I think they'd say, well, we like Pods. We like Podziemski as the next. And I'm not going to sit here and take shots at Podziemski, but
you can keep it real.
There's a level of player that the Warriors need to pass a baton to, and Podziemski's not there yet. And it's just gotten me to thinking about playing with Steph, Draymond, Clay back in the day, Butler now, when Durant was here, for Steve Kerr. And I'm starting to think it's kind of like that Giants thing where it's not, quote, official that hitters don't want to come here, but hitters don't seem to want to come here. And with the Warriors, I'm not saying players don't want to come here, but what I'm saying is I think there is something with the Warriors where they only appeal to a certain percentage of player. And if you're not in that percentage of player, you either don't really want to be here or, quite frankly, the Warriors don't want you here.
Okay.
And so where we're at right now is a tenuous point because we're old, but we have no star that's young.
Yeah.
And what do we do?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Well, you can't. Hey, I hear you talking, Steiny. That was great, but let's do it. It's Golden State Warriors on mine all day, every day. Okay? So you sit here and you fought me and you said I cannot say Tyrese Haliburton, who now is a star/superstar, he could have been the pick instead of James Wiseman. LaMelo Ball, who's got some flash and flair, could have been James Wiseman. But we botched that. So just because the calendar turns and the years, grow or change, it doesn't minimize the failure that was the James Wiseman pick. Because I'm looking right now at some of the great number 2 picks in the draft, Steiny, and I don't care if you guys don't like this. Kevin Durant, Gary Payton, Alonzo Mourning, Isaiah Thomas, Bob McAdoo, Jason Kidd, Jerry West. Those are the Bill Russell. Those are the type of guys. And you could say, well, Guru, those dudes weren't in the draft. My point is we basically got nothing for James Wiseman. And then Jordan Poole, he got decked in the face. But let's not act like he didn't look like, okay, he's not going to be Steph. Nobody's going to be Steph, but he was holding it down. And when Steph was out, Jordan Poole could get you 25 to 30, and it looked like he could be part of the next. So now we're sitting here with Moody, we're sitting here with Kuminga, and they have not been developed, and now we don't know what to do. But what I'm not going to do is cry in my beer. I'm going to put onus on the Warriors front office for not getting it right. You had a gift from the basketball gods with the Wiseman pick. You didn't get it right. You couldn't develop for whatever reason Jonathan Kuminga. Jordan Poole got decked. Nobody got suspended. And that guy that decked him is still here. And now he's running on fumes, I believe. So when I look at and I listen to what you say, it's real. But my point, partner, is they got nobody to blame but themselves.
I'm going to take it a step further. And it's this. Had the Warriors drafted LaMelo Ball or Haliburton, let's leave Ball aside.
All right.
I want to leave Ball aside because there's too much going on with him particularly. I'm convinced that had the Warriors drafted Tyrese Haliburton, he would absolutely, positively not be the player he is now.
So what is that? What are you saying? Why?
Because when they drafted Wiseman, they still had Clay, Poole was still on this roster, and Steph Curry. And you can't tell me after watching the Warriors' MO for the last 10, 12 years under Steve Kerr that there would have been a runway for Haliburton with those three guys in front of him. I don't think there would have been the more I think about it. And so part of the issue is that as long as you've had the Durants, the Stephs, that you preempted yourself from having anyone emerge. And I think there's two things going on here. One is, I'm not sure the organization would ever, how do you emerge when everything is catered toward the champions? I don't know.
I know we're up against it, but that's why, and real quick, Steiny, to that point, I know the Warriors the last 3 years have not been in the finals, and some could say not a championship contender, but it's why I give Pods all the credit in the world. He still is dealing with that, but maybe it's because they're all older, but he's emerged to the degree he can emerge. You know what I mean? He's not a Haliburton, but damn if he was, he's took the bull by the horns and said, okay, you guys be you, I'm still going to shine. But what if he was a better player with more gifts? He's figured it out.